Welcome to That Sounds Terrific in the 585. Join hosts Nick Koziel and Christine Green as they spotlight the incredible leaders, visionaries, and innovators shaping Rochester and the 585 community. From transformative stories to big ideas, we celebrate the people making our community a better place to live, work, and thrive. So sit back, relax, and listen to what makes the 585 sound terrific.
Welcome to another episode of That Sounds Terrific in the 585 with Nick Koziel and Christine Green. And today we have on the fabulous Taylor Terrance. She lives in Rochester and she is a comedian and a writer and a playwright and a million more things. Welcome, Taylor.
Thank you. That was quite the introduction.
Well,
we have to get it all out there.
Quite the guest. Let's start right with what you're doing right now. So the way we're connected is through a show called Listen to Your Mother.
Yep.
And since you're our guest, do you want to tell a little bit about what Listen to Your Mother is?
I was in Listen to Your Mother, Rochester. I was in their 2019 cast. And before I did the show, I had never even heard about it. I just saw a little ad and I think it was in Writers and Books newsletter. And it was just a quick ad, like we're auditioning. If you have a story about mom, you can come and audition. So it's basically a showcase. They do it the Saturday before Mother's Day. They would do it. They would pick about 10 writers and you would just go up there and share a story about your mom. And the stories would run the gamut from really funny to really sweet. Some of them are kind of sad. And they would just kind of be all over the place. But it was a really nice night of just storytelling. It's kind of restorative. So I ended up auditioning, and then I was cast in the 2019 show. And then the year after that, they started looking for new producers. And when I was in my show, I remember watching the producers run around and trying to get everything settled. And I remember thinking to myself, I wonder how you get to do what they're doing. So then the year went by and they put the call out and said, a couple of our producers are stepping down. Is there anybody who wants to step in? And I emailed back right away and I said, yep, I'll do it. So then we produced 2 years of the show. We did 2021. We got caught in the blasted COVID. We were supposed to do 2020. So that got delayed for about a year and a half. So we ended up doing a show October 21, which was supposed to be the 2020 year. And then we did May of 2022. And then it's been on a hiatus since then. But that was how I met Christine, as we were both producers. And it was when we were producing, I didn't know her that well, but it was through all those meetings and everything that I got to know her, and then working with her still today.
Yeah, she grows on you. She grows on you.
She does.
All of a sudden, she's the co-host of a podcast with me. I don't know.
All you have to do to get in close with Taylor and I is bring a box of Cheez-Its to any event.
That's true. Cheez-Its were big during the audition process.
Yeah.
We would just sit there housing Cheez-Its and listen to these stories.
So good.
So happy.
Right now.
That would work for me too. So that's you're right, Christine. every detail I hear about Taylor, I'm like, oh, this is awesome.
Yeah.
But I gotta keep my Cheez-Its hidden though, I guess, huh?
The toasted ones are the best, I think.
Oh God, those are so good. When those came out, it was it changed my Cheez-It consumption.
They have the little edges are kind of burnt.
Yeah.
I would never buy normal Cheez-Its again unless there's a super sale. Mm-hmm. But we usually have a box of Cheez-Its in our house.
It's not often that the original can be outdone by something else. But that is definitely the case with that. I definitely agree with you.
That and double stuffed Oreos are better than regular Oreos for sure.
No, I like the ratio of cream to cookie. I think is off when you do the double stuff.
Oh,
I like
the
crunch, and then the cream is perfect. I think in a regular Oreo.
I guess it depends how you eat it.
There was another show that actually we had him on the show, Chris Lindstrom, and he was doing Food About Town, right? That's his podcast. Mm-hmm. And then I was just listening the other day to one about all the I forget what he called it, but I call them garbage snacks that you get at gas stations, on big road trips and stuff. Mm-hmm. He was talking about all the different things and how sesame sticks were if his trail mix has sesame sticks that he just buys it. But for me, I know we're on a big tangent right now, but I love it. For me, it's frozen peanut butter cups. Like
Oh,
you take Reese's peanut butter cups, the regular traditional size, like the 2 packs,
mhm.
and you put them in the freezer, and then you eat them like right out of the freezer. It like is amazing, amazing.
I've
Your
never
Um,
had that.
peppermint patties are good in the freezer too.
Hmm.
yes, yeah, I'm not a big peppermint patty fan, and that like, but
Same.
that's my wife's favorite. So
Mm.
they're safe in the freezer for her, and the peanut butter cups are not as safe because everyone loves them in my family. But
My gas station snack is the honey barbecue Fritos, the little twist.
oh yeah,
Those are my favorite. And
Taylor,
I'll only get them on a road trip because if I eat them every day, it'll be a problem.
yes, I get those at the what do you call those? They're gas stations that have donuts, but it's not burned dairy. But they're the more north you go in New York,
Is it like Krispy
Stewart's?
Kremes or
Stewart's.
Okay?
Stewart's.
There's a certain Stewart's we always stop before crossing into the Vermont border to see my in-law. And my son and I always get those exact the twisty ones, right?
Oh, okay.
Yes, yes.
So damn good. They're
Stewart's
just
has great ice cream, by the way.
Yeah.
what they do. Yeah,
Mm.
they do.
Yeah. Well, it took
Um,
us on a big tangent, so we can
yeah,
let's
We got a
circle
snack
back in.
problem
But
here.
that, yeah, I know.
that's okay. I think people love to hear this kind of stuff. Some do,
Yes,
some don't.
some do. Yeah, you know. Well, that's okay.
Taylor, let's rewind on the day you were born. No, just kidding. Tell us a little bit about where you grew up, what your life was like, how you got to Second City. I mean, obviously you can take that could be an hour, or can you summarize it for us a little bit and then tell us about Second City?
Yep. So I born and raised in Rochester, and I like to write all my whole life. I was a writer. I learned about like my passion for writing when I was about 9. I had a teacher who introduced us to creative writing, and I took to it immediately. Like it was easy for me to do. She would have us like write diary entries of like, a girl out on the prairie, and like I could just tap in right away and like write a full diary. And then she would always pick my essays and have me read them in front of the class. So she kind of like fostered that in me. And then so I wrote all the way, like on and off, I would say I was always writing through college. And then in college I majored in journalism, but when I did my internship, I found I really didn't like it. It was writing was such a small part of it. And it had to be like fact-based and like very like boom, 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 just bullet points. And there was no creativity in it. And I was good at it, I could do it, but it just wasn't the kind of writing that I wanted to do. So I kind of like I don't know, floundered a little bit trying to find out what kind of writing I like to do. And it wasn't until after college, one of my friends who's an IT guy set me up with a blog, and he was like, you have to write like your little stories. And he would always say the thing that he liked about me was that I could remember things as they happened, like word for word. Like if we would get in a fight or a conversation or somebody would say something funny, I could just recall all those details and I would punch them up and then I'd write like a little story. So I started doing that. And then very slowly I would watch like comedy writers. And I guess I didn't realize, and even in college, I didn't realize like comedy writing was a thing. Like if I had to go back and do it all over again, that's probably how I would have started, but just took me so long to realize that it was an art form, B, it was like a job you could do. So I started taking Second City, Chicago, um, their comedy writing program online. They offered an online version. And I took the first level and I loved it. And they would just send like they would send like a lesson, and then they would have you write an assignment. You would send it in, the teacher would kind of critique it, send it back. And I really liked it. And I remember the first year, or the first like month or two that I did it, I would send the assignment back in, and I'd be like, man, that was so fun. And like it was a lot of work, but I never minded it. Like I would, like to be at my computer, like grinding away, excited about what I could come up with. And so I took the first class, and then I took the second level, and I knew I really liked it. And I was like, I got a problem here. Like I think I want to pursue this. So I just happened on a whim. I just asked my sister, I was like, hey, what would you think? Like, if I moved to Chicago, do you think you would want to go with me? Because I really wanted to do it, but I was too scared to move by myself. And I just happened to ask my sister, and her and I were like running a business together. We ran a cleaning business. So she was like, yes, let's go. We shut the business down. We moved out there, like no jobs, no nothing. We went one weekend, Labor Day weekend, we did search a couple apartments, signed a lease, and just moved there. Like didn't know anybody, knew nothing. I wasn't even registered for classes. We just went and moved. And I had the year before I had read Bossy Pants by Tina Fey, and in there she
so good.
alludes to her like her process of how going to Chicago. So basically that was like my guide. We looked in all the neighborhoods that she would talk about when we were looking for classes and just stuff like that. So I ended up going there. I finished the year. The program was a full year. I did the whole thing. It was a great time. Like it was really fun being around people who think like me and do, that was just really interesting because they all thought like me. Like you could say one silly little thing and they could turn it into like a whole script. So we learned how to do sketches. We learned how to write sketches. There was this thing called clothesline where the whole sketch is just joke, 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 joke. We learned all that type of stuff. And then at the end of the year, there's a performance, and you as a class will put on a show, like a sketch show, like something you would see on SNL. And you got to audition actors, and it was all the kids who were doing the improv classes from Second City, like improv and conservatory. So they were training to be actors. They knew what they were doing. You got to take auditions and pick out who you wanted to be your cast members, and you would cast 3 men and 3 ladies, and everybody that had written a script, that was always the guideline. You have to write this script. It can be no more 3 ladies or 3 males. So you would just pick, cast whoever you wanted. And then each writer, I think there was 8 writers in my class. We each got 2 sketches that would run the show, and then we put it together. We had to come up with an opening song and a closing song. And then the show ran for 4 weeks at the end of the process. And I had always intended to stay and maybe start improv. I didn't love improv, but I thought it's something I should probably know. But then I ran out of money and I had to come home. So that was how
That's the great American story, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, you were so not alone in that.
That's
yeah.
so
And
cool.
I remember thinking like, man, I got it. There's so many more classes I want to take, but it was just like the reality. I'm like, I am out of money. Like I need to, I had
Reality set in. Like,
yeah.
at least you did it though. Like I've not done that, and I've had the dream about doing something like that. And it just like I kept on like finding excuses not to. But it's so cool that you were able to like do that and live that out, right? And to just like go to your sister and say, "Hey, you want to move to Chicago?"
Yeah, that was part of it. She didn't even think. She was like, "Yup, let's go."
That's
And I
awesome.
have an older sister too, and she was the first one I asked, and she was like, "You know what? You don't have a mortgage, you don't have kids, like you gotta do, like
Just do it. Yeah.
go." So I did. It was very much my sisters who were like, "Yep, let's do it." And then obviously my one who moved with me.
Yeah.
Your family is really important to you, Taylor, and I think it's a good segue to talk about your column for 585.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about what you do for the magazine?
So in 585, I write the column. You can always find it in every issue in the back cover page. It's the Lunatics Lounge. And I refer to it as like a humor column, but sometimes it's serious, just like a little bit of humor injected in there. But they're all basically like the type of essays that I like to write. Honestly, that's my favorite thing, is writing like personal, humorous essays about things that have happened, kind of like in the manner of like David Sedaris and like Dave Barry. I used to read a lot of their stuff. And again, even though I read all their stuff, I still didn't put it together that like it was something I could do. So I sort of came by the columns, I would say, through the blog, is when I would blog and like write about my life. And one of my friends was like, he said, this would be, one day he told me this would be a great magazine column. And this was years before I was in 585. So each one is kind of an essay about something that's happened in my life. It always involves my family. Because they're just ridiculous, and like all families are. And so the first column I ever ran in there, it was called Hakuna Frittata, and it was about my sister. My mom used to make frittatas, and every time she would make frittatas, my sister would run around the house singing Hakuna Frittata. So that was the name, that was the title of the first column. And then in there, the very last paragraph, I said, I was like, I was talking about my mom's kitchen, and I said, this isn't Hell's Kitchen, this is Lunatics Lounge.
Oh,
And so I thought I was like, I want to use that as the title because because that it sort of fed off the essay, but also it was going to introduce you to all these lunatics that I was, going to end up writing about. So that was why I picked so it just cracks me up sometimes. And I'm like, I just thought of that off the cuff. This isn't Hell's Kitchen. This is Lunatics Lounge. And now it's
yeah.
blown up into like it's its own thing. But it's sort
That,
of because my family's all lunatics.
yeah.
So like everybody's
Yeah,
family.
Yeah, everyone's done. And you took Lunatics Lounge live.
I did. I did. When did I start the column? I started the column March of 2022, and I did a Lunatics Lounge live in Fringe 2023. I started it. And so I've done it 2 years so far. And it's basically it's like I take what I do in the column and then I just turn it into, it's like a live storytelling. So I'll take, every now and then I'll take like a column that I actually did run in the magazine and I'll read that live, just make a little tweaks here and there. And then
Mhm.
I have like other stories that I've, written but haven't done anything with. And I perform those live too. And it was um, it's very interesting. It's a lot of fun for me. But I will say I didn't realize that it was something people would want to see
Mhm.
until I did Listen to Your Mother. Because at Listen to Your Mother, I read one of my essays out loud. The essay everybody was telling these like really sweet stories about their moms. And mine was about when we were in the Adirondacks at our annual family vacation and my mother hit my father in the head with a kayak. Like they full ran into each other. He was swimming and she was in a kayak and she hit him. So um
It's a great story, Nick. You got maybe we have the video somewhere, right?
I think I have it. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
we'll send it to you, Nick, because it's
Okay, that'd be
um
awesome.
but when I did that and I realized how like it got a huge reaction and I remember thinking like I didn't realize in my mind there's stand-up comedy and there's sketch comedy, but me just reading an essay I didn't realize was going to have such a big impact. And then I also off of Listen to Your Mother, I got invited to Rochester spoken words a speakeasy, and there was this gentleman Scott Fitzgerald who used to run that, and
Cyphers.
Cyfritz, that's right.
Yeah.
Scott Seifert ran that, and he saw me at Listen to Your Mother, and he came in and invited me to come to speakeasy. So I probably did like 10 or 12 speakeasies before it ended up closing. And again, it was where I really sort of came into this idea that I could do these just essays, just a live reading of them, and it took off, and that's how I got into the Fringe show. So I will say that I always wanted to, I intended to stay in Chicago and like work on the live element of like my performance, but I really like it kind of took off once I came back to Rochester, and that was where it was through Listen to Your Mother and the speakeasies, and now the Fringe show. Like that was where it really like gained a lot of traction and a nice little surprise because I didn't know it would be a thing.
That's awesome. I mean, so I went to SUNY Fredonia and we did something similar, and I
Yeah.
forgot how enjoyable those were because like it's kind of was around a poetry slam, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but more often than not, I was kind of reading stories about life or my life or something like that. So, um, it just I haven't been to any of the things that you're talking about. It sounds a much like that, and I just
Mhm.
forgot like that's inspiring to me because like over the last, not to make this all about me, but over the last couple of years, it's just I've been trying to go back to the path of creativity, like doing
Yeah.
things like this. And that's kind of how the podcast came about and whatnot. Because I get to meet people that are super interesting, like yourself. And then Christy knows this. I like dabble in so many different things. This is like one more thing I want to add to the pile of stuff that I'm doing.
Right.
But so how like um, speaking of that, we have a lot of listeners and that do want to get involved with things. Like how would you recommend that they like either watch one of these or try this out?
I would say the thing I always tell anybody who asks me this is I would say I always recommend they get in touch with writers and books, either follow them on like Facebook or Instagram because they have it's just a good place to start your networking where you can
Hmm.
meet other writers. Every now and then they'll have like a live reading with authors, or occasionally they have like workshops, and it's just a good place to meet like-minded people We just started this year. It's called Sin City Writers at Rock Cinema, and it's a whole group of us, a lot of alumni from Listen to Your Mother, actually. And we do it like every 2 to 3 months. We'll have a Thursday night, and you can sign up to read. And there's 10. I think we try to pick about 10. So we did one February, May, and then we're going to do another one in July. So and we actually at our last one had I believe she was a college student who came in and was like, she said, I like to write, but it's so solitary that when you do these things, there's like a public and you can be with other writers and share what you're writing. Cause sometimes it's nice to have a sounding board. You're just writing in the dark all the time and you don't know.
Yeah.
So I would say look up on Facebook. I think there's a Facebook page for Sin City Writers, and that's
Yeah,
the newest one.
It's a good question.
Yeah.
We should check on that.
Well, we'll put it in the notes. We'll find a way to connect the listeners, but that's
We
cool.
always need an audience too.
That's true. That's true.
Like it's even if you're not a writer, I mean, Nick, you both know this. When you go to things like that, like in Taylor, this is a good example. Like Taylor and I like to go to musicals, and like we have gone to a few at RBTL. And last one was Some Like It Hot. I'm not a singer and a dancer, but it's incredibly, like, it's enlivening your creativity. Like you go to a music concert. I don't sing. I've never played an instrument, but it like just makes your brain switch. I was just having this conversation with someone, like, makes your brain switch on I'm looking as if I know what part of the brain it is, but something switches in your creativity, in the way you're thinking, and it makes you look at things differently, I think.
Right. It's like it's almost like there's a spark, like it'll light a spark under you, like that there's this creativity in this city, but also that, like, what, maybe I could write something like that, or like maybe I should at least try, and it's always things like that. Like when I see a television show that's really well written, or like I watch SNL and there's a joke that's really good. Those are the things that always keep me, like, I try to like not let them intimidate me and like make me upset that I can't write something like that. I always think like, well, this is kind of like what you strive for. So I find that it like keeps it keeps the spark going. It just keeps you moving forward. So
yeah, I think someone once said something to me, like, or I read it, I don't know, maybe I saw it in the affirmations on Pinterest or something, but other people's success it's not something to be jealous of. It's something to aspire to. Like, there's always room, right? Like, it's easy to get that little, like, why can't I be on SNL? Why can't I be writing for Vogue or whatever? But like, it's more of a why not? Why? Of course, I don't know. It's a mindset shift to.
That's a good point, because that's why I went to Second City, is I started paying attention to things like when I was like, all my friends around me were, getting married and like having kids, and like that just didn't, like, it wasn't that I was always really happy for them, but I started noticing that I wasn't jealous about it. But when I would see like, a joke that was really like really tightly written and executed really well, those were the time when I would get jealous. Like, I think I can do that, or I wanna. So that was why I ended up going to Second City, because I knew it was something. It was kind of like almost going right to the top of the bucket list. Like it was something I knew I had to do if I wanted to just like, even be happy. So that was what it was, is that I let that, when I would see stuff like that, I would let it inspire me, as opposed to like, getting bitter about it.
Yeah. You get that bug and you get that itch, and you just got to explore it. And that's awesome.
Right.
Yeah. Christine, you made me think of Deep Thoughts by Jack Handy. Like, for some reason, it just popped in. Now Deep Thoughts by Christine.
By Christine Green.
Right?
Yeah, SNL of the 90s was everything.
Yeah.
Everything. It was pretty awesome. Taylor, I want to ask two questions, and you can answer anyway in whichever one you want first.
Okay.
The first one is, I want to hear about your recent playwriting venture with Writers and Books.
Okay.
And also, I want to hear about your obsession with Little House on the Prairie.
Oh, okay. Oh, how long is this podcast? Little House on the Prairie?
As long as you want it to be.
I could go on for hours. We'll get to Little House in a minute.
Okay.
I just did 2 pages, 2 voices at Writers and Books, and it's I I've been trying to get in that for, I don't know, maybe 3, 4 times I've submitted and I've never gotten picked. So they selected my play and they explained it at the beginning. It's a really good, it's a really nice premise. They said that a lot of people who are writers, for whatever reason, are really hesitant to try playwriting. And they get, they think it's too intimidated or they don't want to do it because it can be a big undertaking. So I'm blanking on his name. Joe Flaherty. It was his idea. He thought if the play was limited to just 2 pages and just 2 people, it would put it into like a nice manageable chunk, and new writers would be inclined to try it. So every year they do this thing, and it's a play you got to write, but it can only be 2 pages long, and it can only have 2 characters, and they always give you like a theme to weave into your dialogue. So I did that this year. It was a lot of fun. And I wrote it about, I used to be a housekeeper at a senior living facility. And one of the ladies that I cleaned for was getting like robbed by her grandson. So that was I've actually written twice about this. So I know that it's something that's like always present in my mind. Like it was mind blowing. I didn't know that, like, I guess to see like that kind of like elder abuse and like financial abuse, to see it like in front of you
more
was
prevalent than
really
you'd think.
and that's what when I wrote the play, that's what a lot of people are saying, like that it happens so much more, so much more than you think. So I ended up writing about that. And it was a lot of fun. And again, it was another one of those things where when we did the showcase, it was 2 weeks ago, I think, it was really inspiring to see how many people participated and how good their plays were. They were all really, some of them were like really funny. Some of them were really touching. Some of them, like their narrative structure was really creative. And it was, again, just another one of those things where I came away and thinking like, this is a really good, when I left Chicago, I was like, I'm going back to Rochester. Like, what is there going to be? But I've found over the years, I've just found there's so much creativity everywhere and like ambitious people. And it's really inspiring to do something like that and see like what is available in our own community.
Yeah. I mean, this is the part in the episode where we try to get everyone to move to the 585.
Yeah.
It's not all about snow. We've had this before, honestly. Christine and I go on and on about like it's just amazing the level of talent. It's like the best like little city there is because everyone's really kind for the most part. And like there's so much to do. Like I didn't even know half the stuff was happening, and I'm so glad you came on the show to talk about it.
That was one of the things that I found only after I came back from Chicago. Like, I think sometimes you have to move away and then come back to really appreciate, like, just not only how much is going on here, but how accessible it is. There's not a lot of traffic. You can get from, one end of town to the other within 20 minutes in your own car, have a place to park. That kind of stuff just doesn't exist in Chicago. There's no parking lots. It's like an hour each way. So I will say that even though I wasn't like ecstatic that I had to come back. Once I came back, I realized like how great this city really is. And like when I do things, all these events, I appreciate it a little bit more.
So you're going to talk a little bit about Little House on the Prairie too.
I had to bring it. I just because it's a shared love, and I think I just wanted to touch on it.
Yeah, so, I didn't know this about you, Christine. So I want to hear this too.
New information. So I used to watch Little House on the Prairie. It would always come on in the reruns on. I remember 10:05 and 10:35. And that's when the reruns would be on TBS. So whenever I had a day off of school or if I was sick, that's what I was doing. I was watching Little House on the Prairie. I would like get up, eat my breakfast, and I make sure I was in front of that TV and I would watch it. And maybe just for like the storylines, I never really paid attention to the fact that Laura Ingalls Wilder was writing all this stuff. I just really liked the show. And then as I became older and I became a writer, I started, I identified more with Laura only because she was a writer as well. And the one thing that always gave me hope, all my struggles, like, I didn't know if I should stick with writing. And then like it took, when I came back from Chicago, from the time I moved back and the time I got Listen to Your Mother, it was like 5 years where I didn't do anything. And I was like, maybe writing's over for me, but I always hold on to hope because Laura Ingalls Wilder was not published till she was like 65.
Yep.
And I went to her. I remember I went This was probably 2017 maybe. I went to the they have the Little House on the Prairie Day at the Genesee Country Museum.
Yeah.
And me and my friend were supposed to go, and she ended up getting sick. And she was like, "Oh, I can't go." And just I woke up and I was like, "You know what? I'm gonna go by myself. I don't care." So I went by myself, and the person who did her autobiography, I think, was there. He was there talking about her struggle to get published and how long it took. And then Ma Ingalls was there. She
Oh,
did a little,
Yeah.
yes, she did a little.
Caroline.
There was people crying, like when she came
Yeah.
up, they were like, "I love you, Carolyn Ingalls," and it was very dramatic. But I just remember leaving that, like I left that, driving home, and I was like, "Yeah, that's it. I'm gonna keep writing. Like I have to." So
Yeah.
I keep Laura close to my heart because of that. Like she's,
Mhm.
even though it's a totally different style, and hers is more like it's got more narrative structure. Mine is very,
But
humorous,
it
a
but
little funny.
it parallels, like, it definitely like I loved that show growing up as well, reruns, and it definitely parallels your life, like when you're talking about like you're kind of writing what you know and about your family. It's just from a different perspective.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
just think that's so cool that you found that inspirational. And my daughter actually was born in the wrong generation, like completely the wrong generation. Because like she loves Little House on the Prairie, she loves Brady Bunch, she loves like all the old shows, like they're even kind of older than me. And she's obsessed with Little House too. So like we have discussions about it and all
I
Can
the
I
have
different
just,
episodes.
I have
can I, oh,
occasionally, I will, on Father's Day, I will post a Happy Father's Day to Charles Ingalls. I have done
Mhm.
that before as well.
the America's Father.
Yeah.
You guys talk about reruns. This making me feel old because I remember watching Little House on the Prairie, like when it was still on the air, like on prime time. I was
Oh,
Yeah.
very little. Um, but yeah, like it was a big deal. And I think there's, my daughter, Nick, like, she's 24 now, but she had a deep Genesee Country Museum / Laura Ingalls Wilder, and we'd read those books together over and over. We have the recipe book from
Yeah.
it's a pretty interesting, and then there's a lot of ways you can break down um Laura Ingalls' life and what she wrote about, her experience on the prairie, and it's yeah. So I had to bring it up because I
Yep.
knew you would relate it back to what you do now,
Yeah.
Taylor, because it's important. It is what
yeah,
we enjoy. Sometimes it seems like a silly thing, but like it's all about creativity and getting back to joy, right?
Right.
yeah, yeah. And it's just, it's like those, little pebbles that you keep with you. You pick them up along the road, and then eventually it'll foster into something bigger.
Mhm.
And that was, and I just never I never would have assumed when I went to the Little House on the Prairie Day at the museum. I had no idea I was gonna come back just resolute, like I'm gonna keep writing. And just because I just thought I was going because I loved the show.
Mhm.
So you just you got to look for inspiration in even the weird places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And speaking of weird, so like when I was little, I was convinced for whatever reason that my father was like Michael Landon.
Oh,
And it's funny because just specifically, I think around Little House, because my dad is like, kind of like the man's man kind of thing. He built like when he was growing up, he was like roofing with his father, and he's like in a way kind of like MacGyver too, like always finding ways to fix things, build things. But he even kind of sort of had the Michael Landon look. He used to be like very 70s, long hair with like full beard, but then he shaved that except for like the mustache, and he had this wavy hair. Um, but it's just funny because I forgot all about that until we had like this conversation. But I remember like having that experience as a kid going like, oh my God, my dad's like Pa Ingalls. And so anyways, like one of the things that I distinctly remember like kind of growing up with like that show and all that other stuff was also Highway to Heaven became a big
oh yeah,
thing, right? And then like later on he unfortunately, had a very aggressive cancer that he got. And so like whenever I go back to watch Highway to Heaven, because Maddie is starting getting into that a little bit too, it's hard for me to watch because it makes me sad because I'm like, he's
yeah.
kind of like an angel in the show, and he's like an angel now. But I digress again a little bit. And I just wanted to ask you, so like with all this types of like what other things like inspire you besides like Little House? Like when you're sitting down to write, and you're getting ready, like how do you like set up? Is it something that just like the name of the column just pops into your head, or is there more development that sometimes comes into your like writing in your column?
Well, a lot of times we get each issue has a theme.
Mhm.
So we'll get the theme about 2 months ahead of time, and I'll say the next theme is this. And then, if you can, and I don't necessarily have to. They will, the magazine allows me to write whatever topic I want, but it's a challenge for me, I think, to
Cool.
figure out what I'm going to write about and try and tie it into the topic, the theme. But I find a lot of times the way I do it is I don't write it right away. I let it sit because I get about 2 months. I let it sit for like a month before I'll even touch it. And I find that in that month, I've generated all these ideas so that when I do go down to, sit down to write, it pops out it just comes right out. But I always start when I'm doing the columns, I always start with what is the opening piece of my column because back actually right when I came home from Chicago and I was like, okay, I got to keep on this writing track somehow. I took a class at Writers and Books and it was screenwriting, I think. And there was this screenwriter in the 40s, blanking on his name, Billy Wilder, I think was his name.
Yeah.
And so his theory.
Some Like It Hot.
Yes, yes. So his theory, we learned in that class that his theory is always when you are writing anything, you have to grab them by the throat and hold them there. So I always, and even though that was about screenwriting, I've used it in all my other writing. So that always my opening sentence is something that's going to be like, I got to figure out what is going on. So I might have it like back previously, I used to write, like if it was a story, I would do it chronologically, like, well, this is what happened. And it was all this exposition. And it would end up being entertaining. But I learned that I had to stop doing that and start it in the middle of the action at the height of it, at the funniest part. It should go right in the beginning, and that's what's going to grab them. And then you can work in all your details.
And
it's kind of like improv.
Res, is that what it's called? It's like in media res, right? Is that right? My son is way into film. He doesn't write it. He just is interested. So he always he talks about that too, Taylor. It's really interesting. Like the best television or movies a lot of times happen. That's the best way to get any audience to
the way they described it at Second City was, why are we watching this scene? Like if it's just a normal, a run of the mill any day of the week, you're not going to want to watch that scene. So you're coming into this scene as a viewer, something has happened. Like why now? Right. So you have to kind of distill what it is, like why are we watching this scene, and then kind of like sprinkle that right in the beginning if you can, or else, nobody just wants to watch a person going through their daily routine.
Yeah, well, that could be argued because I have kids that watch people's routines and they think that that's the coolest thing, and I just still don't get it. But the improv part of it is definitely that too. Like start in the middle of the scene, like like that is like something that like they always push out. Like nobody wants to see the transaction of, hi, Nick, my name's Kate, and hi, Kate. Guess where we're going? We're at the volcano. Yeah. So like I get it, and I think that that's like a really cool point. And when you think about, because I was thinking about journalism in a class that I took after, because I used to write a lot too, and journalism killed me because like it was just totally different from the way that I wanted to write. But they also try to put the juiciest thing in the headline and then like at the very beginning.
The lead as
the lead, yes.
When I was doing my internship, they told me like you have to be prepared for like, even the second half of your story could get cut. So anything people have to know has got to go right up the top.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, same thing. I didn't like journalism for that reason. Everything, it was very dry and like, just the facts. And I was like, there's no, I can't put any flourish on this. And I didn't. That's what I didn't like about it.
That's why I like lifestyle and arts writing, because while you still don't get to necessarily do that flourish and all that stuff, it is more engaging. Not to put down news journalism. It just wasn't what I don't want to do that either, because it's like blah blah. I want to be like, look at this cool person, like this enthusiasm.
I have done a few like serious pieces for like more serious reporting for the magazine. I think I've done two of them now. And
Yeah.
I will say that journalism background really helped me because it was, the same thing. Like this isn't a humorous story about something in my life. It's I got to get it, like, the who, what, where, why, and like keep it at a certain professional structure to it.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I don't mind it. It's not my favorite type of writing to do, but I have done it before.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're good. She's a good writer, or I wouldn't keep her on.
Oh, well.
Boot you out of here. No, I wouldn't.
Wouldn't have asked her to be on the show or anything,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
I didn't know. I'm like, am I referring to Christine as my editor, or is that like too?
No,
So
it's fine.
I,
Everybody,
okay,
everybody,
I know.
I
I was
think,
like, is this like a widely known? I didn't know.
no,
Like,
yeah,
I'm
it's
not
all
gonna.
because no, it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah, I was
I
like, I'm
think
not
our
gonna.
listeners now know that I am at 585
Yeah, I think we've
Right.
mentioned it a bunch of times.
I'm
once
sure.
or a million times.
Well, it
Yeah.
is in the title of the podcast, so
Right?
there you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
So, what else is there? I mean, like you've got a lot like you're doing, right? And like, so what are some things that you're looking forward to, like, the future in? Like, where's this
I
all going?
so the one thing that I always am working on and then I'm not working on is I want to get out a book proposal. I would like eventually like a book of essays. Maybe I actually put a proposal together like I don't know, maybe 5 years ago, and I got good feedback on it, but what I sent out was just all essays, 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 and she said the editor who I sent it to said it would be really good if you have to come up with like an arc, like
Yeah, like an
kind of
anthology.
yeah, and
Mhm.
where almost like where me as a character goes through something and then there's like a resolution and all this stuff. So that's my biggest challenge, only because it's just daunting to think about
Yeah.
having,
Yeah.
I've gotten a whole bunch of them that I've compiled, and that part of it is easy, but like trying to figure out how to weave them together is slow going because it's a lot.
Yeah, there's a
It
lot of
is.
content there and you're kind of like living it, right? So like
Yes.
I'm the type of person, I don't know if this is kind of in your process too, but I'm very critical of everything that I do or say. So like editing this
Yes.
podcast, it's just like I'm gonna cut off the beginning, cut off the end, and then like the middle just stays, right? So
Right.
I don't want to like I'm too critical of what I do. So
The
that's tough.
that makes sense because Christine will tell you this. Every time I send her like my final copy, I'll send it to her and I'll be like, yeah, that wasn't really my best. And then I'll be like, okay. And then like a week later, she'll email me back, oh my God, I love this. And I'm like, okay, good. Because I don't know what it is, but every time I send it while I'm writing it, I'm like, yeah, this is pretty good. And then I'll send it and I'll be like, nah, it wasn't, I could have done better.
I think
Yeah.
that some of that is human nature,
Yeah.
right? Like we
Yeah.
just kind of waiting for the teacher. But no, your stuff is always solid. Hence the reason you've been on
Yeah, because she would have
books.
gotten rid of you long ago. It sounded like
Yeah.
she's like, if you're
Um,
not tip top, you're
You got
not
to get out of here.
585
Got to get out of
material,
here.
right?
But yeah, no, you're solid. And I think sometimes we do that to protect ourselves. Like if you go, oh, well, maybe that wasn't my best. And I were to come back and say, oh, can you change this up? You would be like, I knew it. It's fine. Like, so you're playing into your own expectations, but you have to be more confident because you really give. So I have to say, Nick, when Taylor sends me her stuff, and then I share it with the illustrator. And so the two of us are the only people who initially see it. And then it goes through proofreader and everybody else. But I tell you, Lissa Mathis, who's the illustrator, the two of us will just crack up over emails like, oh my God, look at this. And she's like, oh, I can't even wait. This is going to be great. And Taylor, she sent me the illustration. Taylor never sees illustrations that go with
I don't see him till the day the magazine comes out. I
Oh
have no
wow.
idea what I'm in for.
Yeah, and it's a good one. This is a good one. She
Oh,
just sent it today. Yeah, so gave
good.
it to
Oh
the
wow.
designer.
I actually I have her illustrations, whatever. Some of my favorite illustrations that she's done of my column. I print them out and I have them hanging up in my living room because I just love them. It's like it's just
That's
first of all, it's so
awesome.
funny that like um that my memories are like in print to begin
Mhm.
with, but then she does the illustrations and it's like these are illustrations of like my favorite memories
Mhm.
in my life. So the ones that she prints and I'm like, ooh, that's a good one, I'm gonna print that one out and hang it up.
Not
Yeah,
to not to
And they're
be
always so funny too. They're always right on point.
yeah.
not to be forward, but like go take a look back at all of those, and maybe that's where your anthology lies, right? Like it might inspire you, right? To like kind of see the
Oh,
arc, right? Because you're seeing it visually and then you're
yeah.
experiencing your writing again. So, because like, and Christine, close your ears, and you might even want to close your ears to this, but like in my line of work, I do data science and AI and stuff like that. I'm exposed to that all the time.
Right.
So I like to use it kind of as a tool to kind of help me interpret things sometimes.
Hmm.
And so like there are times where like even episode notes and stuff, I'll use that like help me come up with the best description for this episode, right?
Right.
Um, and what I have also done is just used it as sort of as like a thinking partner for different aspects of like programming and things like that. This is what we're doing. Give me some ideas and some bullet points and stuff like that. So, and then I like for that sounds terrifying. I will create a lot of the episode art based on those descriptions. And what
Yeah.
I'm finding as I look at them, it's helping me to recall like really vividly what stories we were telling in those episodes. So sometimes that visual like representation of your work like can jog you in a different way. So,
Yeah, no, it's true. I use a lot of photographs
right.
when I'm writing about my family or I was gonna say my past life, not like my past in like I was Cleopatra life or something, but
Reincarnated.
my younger years.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I do that with my friend's show. A lot of times if there's like a really interesting picture that and I know it'll add to the humor if I show the picture, I'll write around the picture and then I will like try to get the also like having the pictures so people can be like, this chick isn't just making this stuff up. Like this stuff really happened. Because
Crazy stuff.
Yeah.
I had because I have, photographic evidence.
And I feel like our readers, I feel like even though I've only met your different people in your family, like here and there, it's like, oh, hi, nice to meet you. That like I have this like very interesting picture of all of your siblings and your mom and your dad and your grandma even from
Right.
reading these.
Right.
Mhm.
That's good.
Yeah.
And also I like hearing that feedback because that's what I can't remember again, probably a Pinterest quote or something. And that's what it said is that there's a lot of people who say you had to be there and your job as a writer is to bring them there.
Right.
Like,
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
people who say, "Oh, you had to be there." As a writer, you say, "I can bring you there,"
Yeah.
and that's what the column is for me. Is like I want you to, be able to look at, see everything that's going on with my insane family.
It's kind of like when you like a lot of times when I have a book series that I know is also a movie or is going to be a movie, I make sure that I read the entire book series before I watch any of the content because like I'm developing those pictures in my mind of what
Yeah.
I feel like things are looking like, and I know that if I halfway through the series watch the movie or something like that, it's going to ruin it for me. Even no matter how close it is to the books,
Right,
it's
right.
just like I'm
Yeah.
always going to see, that character is that person.
I was gonna
Whereas,
say even characters are like that. Like you
yeah,
have a way in your mind the way they look, and then when you see who they picked, you're like, that's not what I pictured at all.
yeah,
Yeah. You
yeah.
can, yeah.
So, and it's like it goes both ways. Like if I somehow watch something and I didn't realize it was a book, I'm like, I want to watch the whole series and then I will read the books, because like I'm like then maybe I still will imagine them as the characters in the movies, but sometimes I don't. Like
Right.
it's interesting because I don't know, it's funny because I'm trying to remember. I read the Twilight series after I saw the movies,
I was just thinking of Twilight when you were talking about this.
right? And because I think it was Emily Browning was mentioned like as a possible like Bella, like at one point that she might try out for
Oh,
that. And I really liked
interesting.
her as an actress. And for whatever reason, like I didn't see Kristen Stewart at all. Like just kept seeing like, oh, I was like, was I was reading the books, I'm like, oh, Emily Browning looks, like, that's who I was sort of envisioning as the character, even though I had already seen the movie. So I
Right.
guess in rare situations it has happened where I'm not imagining it, but um like Game of Thrones and things like that, I will see, all like Jamie Lannister as that actor and like all those
Oh
things.
yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
just it's ingrained, especially since that particular series has like
Well,
37,000 characters that are
oh my
like
God,
merged
I can't
together.
even.
Yeah.
Well, what's interesting here, what I'm hearing from you guys, and I think I share the same trait, is that, and this is getting a little weirdly esoteric. And I know we don't have a ton of time anymore, but I would just want to say this, but like, so you guys have a very vivid internal vision, right? Like you can see someone's face. If I
Yeah.
say
Mhm.
Brad Pitt, you can visualize him, right? And
Mhm.
so
Yes.
it wasn't until recent years I realized that there are people who don't necessarily do that. You ever seen that like test where it's like when you say apple, some people see a shiny apple with stems and leaves, and maybe someone's holding it, or it's in a bucket thing at the farm market, and other people just get this vague shape in their head. They kind of like, and it is so fascinating because I find um writers and a lot of creatives have this very vivid internal vision. Would you say that's true for both of you guys?
Mhm.
Same
Yeah.
here.
It's
Yeah. Like,
very cinematic, I think.
Yes,
You can
same.
picture, yes, you can picture a scene, and then that makes it easier to write.
I'll even
right.
get annoyed, like if I'm reading historical novel, which I read a lot of, and I'm like, wait a minute, I better stop and look up how dresses looked in 1790s Virginia before I go further, because I need to create a costume. I need to create a wardrobe for this
Yeah.
character. Like
Yeah.
that's how, oh God, I just told everyone how weird I am, but you know, anyway,
It's
they
okay.
already know.
That's very common, I think, for writers. I was just
Yeah.
with my sister this weekend, and she was saying that I know how your brain works. Your brain's weird. And I'm like, yeah, I know it is. It's different.
Yeah, that's cool though. I never really thought about it that way, Christine, but like now like everything you were saying, it is like flashing through my mind. And when you said Apple, I was thinking, okay, Apple computer, Mac logo,
Oh,
Mac, like with the the colored one. Then it was just like the
Yeah,
simple silver. And then I'm like apples in a tree, and I'm like Cortland. Like that's like my brain, you know me, I'm all over the freaking map. It's
same,
not
same thing.
it's like, that how are we co-hosts of this show? Just
Because we're the same,
keep it
because
on
our
track.
brains are like, what?
Yeah.
What were we talking about? And then like an hour later, we're like, did we talk about the thing we were supposed to
Yeah.
talk about? I don't
No,
remember.
no. That our
we did.
meetings are
Well,
terrible.
just to remind you guys, we did a good bit about snacks this
Yes.
at the
Yes. And
front
now
end
we're
of
back to the healthy snacks, apples, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
But
This
like I get
episode brought to you by Cheez-Its. They should sponsor us.
they
That'd be
should.
great.
Is there a 585 Cheez-Its connection? There should be.
Ah, if only. I'll look into it.
All right.
Wow.
So, but no, Taylor, I think that it's like it's been great kind of getting to know you on the show, like just a little bit, little tidbits of like who you are and stuff. But well, what else like what else inspires you? Like who are some of the, the writers in that inspire you to write and do what you do?
Well, I already mentioned Tina Fey.
Hmm.
She's like my queen, basically, because she was when she did Weekend Update on SNL, and I always remember it was so vivid. They would always say she was the first ever female head writer on SNL. So, and that was where, if I had continued, that was where I would have hoped to have. I wanted to be a writer for
Hmm.
Weekend Update. So she inspires me. I actually, this is a little lesser known. When I was a teenager and in college, I would always get Rolling Stone magazine, and there was this guy, Rob Sheffield, used to write a little column, and it was literally like this big. It was just like the quarter of the page, but it was always very like it was written in like proper English, great sentence structure, perfect punctuation. But he would make up these crazy words, and then he would inject these little like zingers in there, and I would like belly laugh when I read them. I would always go. So in my mind, I'm thinking like, oh, I want to be a writer like Cameron Crowe, somebody like with a lot of, I don't know, pizzazz. But I would find that when I would get the magazine, the first thing I was opening up to was Rob Sheffield's column. And he always had I always remember this one article he wrote, and he said it sounded like, I'm not going to say which singer he was talking about, but he said it sounded like she had been tasering her vocal cords. And so he would just write these little like zingers in there. And I always think of him when I'm writing the column. I think of him, and also as I was developing my style, he was the one I would go most back to and be like, I can write like him, like because I know proper structure and punctuation. I know I can do all that, and I can also interject these little like jabs in there.
Hmm.
So he, again, a very like unassuming, I guess, inspiration for me, but he's the one I think of the most. So him, Tina
Awesome.
Fey, who
You
else?
mentioned David Sedaris. He's great.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And what I like about him also is he also has a ridiculous family. So
Oh yeah.
I relate, I think everybody relates to that because,
Yeah.
everybody at a certain point, like everybody's family is a nightmare.
And he can write the most hilarious stuff. And then his next essay will have you crying because
Yeah.
you miss your mom
Yeah.
and he misses his mom. And it
Great
is a
depth.
really fascinating family. Like, do you ever watch anything with his sister Amy? He talks about her a lot.
She was on, I can't think of, she has a bit part on Sex and the City. I've seen her on that. But she also writes every now and then.
She writes a lot. She wrote with Stephen Colbert for a long time on a show called Strangers with Candy.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that
in the
show's funny.
90s.
Yeah.
That show's hilarious. My son is in the middle of watching it.
that
I'm
again.
like, oh God, remember the early 2000s?
Oh.
And she had a show for a while called At Home with Amy Sedaris, and it was like this riff on like the Martha Stewart type shows or Rachel Ray or something.
Yeah.
Laughing my ass off. She's so weird. I love it.
You mentioned Stephen Colbert. When I was at Second City, they would pass us out old scripts, and they would assign each writer a part, and we would read them all together, and then we would like kind of critique them in relation to the lesson we were learning. And only at the end would they tell us where they got this script from. And they used to give us a ton of Stephen Colbert's old scripts when he was at Second City.
Really?
Yeah, because so there's 2 levels. You can be in the classes, and then once you graduate, you go to the main stage. And when you're on the main stage, that's when you write. You write and perform your own stuff. And so a lot of his scripts were from the main stage, and that's what they would use to like teach us. Mm-hmm. And we would have no idea. We'd be reading all this stuff, like, oh my God, this is funny. And then they would be like, Stephen Colbert wrote that. So it was a lot of Stephen Colbert, and I think a lot of Steve Carell as well.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I know we're doing our podcast, and I know we got to go in 1 second, but I have one podcast recommendation, particularly for Taylor, though Nick, you may like it too. Julia Louis-Dreyfus, of course, great comedian. Yep. She has a podcast called Wiser Than Me. Mm-hmm. And I fully believe in uplifting everybody. I mean, she doesn't need my recommendation. She interviews everyone from like Diane von Furstenberg to Julie Andrews, and the most recent one I listened to is with Catherine O'Hara. You would really like that one, Taylor, because they talk all about Second City and whatever that one in Canada is. I cannot, it's on tip of my tongue. But anyway,
I know what you're talking about.
Yes, it's like right there. Because Catherine O'Hara was
SCTV.
Yes, exactly. But what it is she's interviewing women who are older than her, who are older, and getting wisdom. But she has such humor in it, and when she interviews a comedian, it's like it is hilarious. It is hilarious. Like she had Carol Burnett on there. She has the greats. So check her out after listening to all of our podcasts and rating and reviewing.
You can listen to other shows.
Yes,
Make sure you rate our show.
I will.
Well, Taylor, thank you so much for being on our show.
Yes, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it was terrific getting to know you, and I definitely want to get to know you more. It's so cool that you're here in the 585, and
yes, very happy to be here too.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of That Sounds Terrific in the 585. Check out our website, www.thatsoundsterrific.com, to see a full list of episodes and learn more about our hosts, Nick Koziel and Christine Green. Be sure to find us on your favorite social media platforms or podcast listening service by searching That Sounds Terrific, and feel free to give us a 5-star rating if you enjoy our show. Until next time.